give a fuck? Why do I give a fuck? Why do I try so hard? Why do I care so much?
Welcome to Why Do I Give a Fuck? A cross-cultural conversation between myself, Deanne Tate,
and Johanna Thompson. In these times of great struggle and possible shift, we ask ourselves,
why do we give a fuck about any of it? How does the lens we see the world through impact what we see?
And what do we do about it?
So let's talk. I mean, people have said things in our circle, and it's an opportunity for us to talk about.
I think we're fighting for what this country says it is on paper. We're going to pass this to you. Yeah, that's what it is. We're fighting for what this country says it is on paper, but it's not that way for everybody. So that's why I serve, right? I serve because this country stands for something. And everything that it stood for, everything that's written up in paper is what I fought for. And when you get back to this country and realize that it's all a facade, it's not real, right? It's all imaginary, it's not really real, it's not tangible, you can't touch it, that's when you get angry.
And what are some of the things that you're saying what this country stands for? I would love to hear that from somebody who has served for this country.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question because it's just, just like we just said, all men are created equal, right? And we all know that's not true. I mean, we all know that that's not true. We're living in a society today that teaches us every day that it's not true. I work with young boys now. We have a mentor group. And it's kind of hard to have these conversations with these young boys about, their place in America, their place outside of the situation that they're in today. But we have to face the reality, and I know a lot of people, kind of don't want to face the reality is that this country is not, Martin Luther King used to say this all the time, just be true to what you say on paper. That's all we want, is just be true to what you say on paper. And I have no more problems once we do that.
I guess since I have the mic, I'll talk. Of thinking of ideals, we think of what democracy, liberty, freedom. What do those words really mean? I don't know if we always know what they mean. But we can see how they aren't implemented in practice for everyone the same way. I'm gonna bring in my students because teaching is my background. Sometimes I'll write out on the board America, or what does that mean? And students will say, of course, I guess typical responses of like apple pie, baseball, things related to sports. There will be students who will push us to say the Americas, again, reminding us of time before, right? So that 250 is a marker, but it's not, it's just a starting point for this country with saying a story. It's not the only story that can be told. I'm also thinking when I've had students say, again, these ideals are American dream, right? We can pull ourselves up by our bootstraps. We can be born rag to riches in this country. That's the whole ideal, pretty much, of how a democratic republic is supposed to be different than colonial America. Colonial America, you had to be a white man who had property, who owned of wealth, of status. And that is what allowed you to go to school and make your way in the world, and everybody else was pretty much destitute. You couldn't move up in those ways. But the idea of democracy is that everyone is supposed to be able to do that. And we see time and time again that is not the case. And I think about me putting America on the board and students saying American dream. And then I've had a black male student before say, no, it's an American nightmare. Yeah. Because it's like, no, I don't benefit from any of that. I've also had a Korean international student, or Korean national. She's from Korea, but she attended an international school in South Korea. So going to school with a lot of Westerners, people whose family were in the military, dignitaries from other Western countries. And she was like, you learn all this about America and you hear diversity, et cetera. And she was like, and I got here and it's a lie. And she literally started crying in class. Mind you, things that I had been saying, the entire semester. It started to click for other people. Other people went red and afterwards came up to her and were like, oh, I never thought about it like that. So that's what I have to offer at this time.
American Dreams and American Lies.
Nightmare.
There are
Nightmare.
5 scripts.
I just want to tell you a little bit about my history. 4th of July was our family reunion. My grandfather chose that birthday, and I had no idea what it meant. And when I look back at it, before that, my great-great-grandmother left the plantation at emancipation with 13 children, no husband, and on a covered wagon went from Virginia to Columbus, Ohio. Then I got a chance to go from this country to Canada to live. And I felt so good going across that bridge because I get to leave this country behind. Now, I didn't know history. I didn't know why I knew why. I knew why. I felt it, I knew it. And I felt so good in Canada, a lot of West Indian friends, and I said, whoa, this is where I get to be me. Then from there, I went to the Bahamas. And that was really wonderful because I was even farther away from this country, and I didn't know how much I didn't like this country even. I just wanted out of it because it wasn't me, it wasn't home. But the Bahamas was home. So when I'd been there for 5 years, I started thinking, this country needs me. I need to come back to this country. Now, why I needed to come back to this country was, I don't know, I came back, I was depressed for a whole year, but I know now why I came back. I came back to bring my light, my wisdom, my art. I came back to offer it, and it's not because I'm going to get it back or anything. It's like, this is what you do when you grow up. You grow up and you give.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
I hadn't planned on saying anything else, but to back up what you said just now, I had the opportunity to teach in Ghana and in Gambia in West Africa. And for medical reasons, I couldn't stay there for that long a period of time to do so. But you bring up a very important point in that one of the reasons why I chose to stay here after 4 great visits in Africa, where I experienced some of what you experienced, being in the majority for the first time and that sort of thing, it's important right now to consider this. We are living in ignorant times. There's a lot of people who are misled by nonsense and pseudo-information online and that sort of thing. And since our children are not growing up into the cohesive communities that they once did with wise elders, there's that gap going on. So that's why it's important for those of us who have known those cohesive communities, who are indeed well-read and understanding of why things are the way they are and so forth. It's imperative to come here because, as I said earlier about how Rome rose, Egypt rose, Greece rose, and they all fell and so on and so forth, it's up to us to do better by instructing young people. And I think Akua is a great example of this, I should say, of being the guiding lights in these new dark ages.
I would offer that it's an age of ignorance juxtaposed against a massive amount of knowledge and advancement. And it's how we engage both of those things is the way I'm thinking about it. Because we have so much access to so much more information. Yes, fake information, but being able to connect and hear beyond the narratives that we're given here on this land. And that's important for us to be able to, develop our understanding.
Does anyone else want to speak?
Well, you were going to speak. So.
Oh, well, I guess I'm feeling compelled to speak because I have had conversations with with my husband about leaving the country. And he really wants to leave. I want to leave too. And there's part of me that feels like I'm supposed to stay because there's work to be done. So I do struggle with that. I would love nothing more than to get away from all of this. But yes, you did. Yeah. Jay's gone. I had to pull you back. Yeah. I had to pull you back. I said, come on to Charleston. Let's talk about this. And then off you go. But I'm reminded before we started our conversation, our newest guest that joined us this morning, Professor Harris, who was sharing her story of living in Atlanta and having family there and the connections. She was speaking into an ancestor of mine who, I think it was your great-grandmother or your grandmother? Your great-grandmother that used to clean houses for my ancestor. And so, and we've never met before today. And so, it's those connections. I don't know exactly, I don't want to center, it's not about me, but to me it speaks to why these connections are so important, because there is so much propaganda and there is so much false information. The narrative weaving in this country is so incredibly strong. To erase that connective tissue that we share and to craft it. And Charleston, in my opinion, is particularly good at that, which is why I felt like coming here was so important to have this discussion, because they've made an art form in this city of weaving that narrative that you're walking around in this history all the time, and yet the only thing that's the thing that's most predominantly presented to you is the 5 scripts, is the stories. That's a phrase that Godfrey gave us the other day when we took his tour. It's just we've had many conversations the week that we've been here about how, I don't even know what the word is, how cunning and how deceptive it is, that how cunning it is to be walking around being told one thing, actually stepping on the earth of the other, the stories of the other. But and anyone in a white body like myself, Jay, I've said a couple of times, we're oblivious, and Jay's like, well, not all of us. And so, I do understand the difference between how I present into the world and how those narratives are woven specifically for my comfort, so that I won't know the real story until I dig, until I want to know. And so when we decided to come here, we knew that this was the place to have this discussion, because this is like the experiment, the perfect experiment of how to have a city continue to function with all of this script building and yet all of this horrific history all woven in together. It's all in the same soup. And
it's super bipolar. No, it is.
Well, we want to be ableist, but yeah, it is
ableist in one way.
Well, I guess I'm aware of using mental illness terms to describe something that is not necessarily about that. So I guess that's why.
But I would offer that it is about that, though, right? Because if you're walking around like having to deal with like some intense, you're being told a narrative in a way that is supposed to exist, but you actually know that is not the truth of your existence. But you're supposed to walk around in delusion.
So that's
and be
gaslighting,
okay with
I
that.
guess, maybe.
It's gaslighting,
Yeah.
but then also like understanding like you have in the mental health component of the bipolar, right? You are your true self in whatever impacts you're having that cause your triggers, right? And so walking on this land, you are your true self in those impacts. Someone was saying, yes, I can celebrate, or one of the persons in the circle, yes, I can celebrate here. In one instance, I want to be celebrating, and in another instance, there's so much harm in the celebration, right? And those are continuous triggers that shift the way that you can balance yourself. And that's how I understand bipolar.
It
Right?
dysregulates.
Yes,
Yes.
it's dysregulating out of
Yeah.
your balance, but it's your essence of your true self, however it is that you are responding to that stimuli. And so when I say it's a very bipolar existence for people who are experiencing that in mental health, that'll help them to have a relatability as to people who might not ascribe to that same mental health description, but it is a reality of how some of us are really walking around
Yeah.
in this space. I heard also in the circle that, you know, in the United States we are safe, and thanks to the service to keep us safe, but not all of us walking around in the United States feel safe, which is why someone can move off of this land, go someplace else and say, this makes more sense for me. This vibration feels better. This actually feels safe. And if we're talking about mental health, or we're talking about bipolar, for folks to be in environments that don't have as many triggers is what we would try to
Yeah.
achieve.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'm going to pass that around.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Not to rush things on, but, you know, and I understand totally, because it's like our history is also being taken away from us. They want to stop educating, taking down certain things that show the history of this country from our national parks, and trying to erase it. But how do African Americans move forward? I think that for me, being here during the events with Walter Scott and Mother Emanuel, you know, you look at that, and I have to say, we as a people have a responsibility too, of coming together and trying to change things, because we've seen how Nixon, they had the tapes of him indicating what housing would look like. We're going to take the father out. We're going to give you free housing, but you can't bring the husband with you. That was designed specifically to break down the family. We know these things, and now we see the shootings that are taking place. We're killing ourselves. And I look to you continuously, because you're with our babies. You're educating. What is it that we need to do to shift this so that, you know, we're not continuously giving control, that we are taking back some of the control in our communities?
I appreciate that. I took my baby out of school. Nope.
When you ask what do we do, I say this is what we do. This is what we do. We come together and we talk about it and we open up, and you know, that spreads. It spreads all the way to Jamaica. I can't go to Jamaica. I can't go to the Bahamas now. I'm too old. I'm the elder. But I can use that energy that I got there and that you brought to us, and I can spread it out around here. But we do need these talks, because we're like minds, and we can encourage, enable, and strengthen each other. We need each other. That's what we need to do.
I love that question. Can we continue that question with everyone? What is that we need to do?
Question.
It's a wonderful question.
So with that question, what pops in my mind, and I'm paraphrasing Carter G. Woodson, I believe he said a quote that if the Negro in the ghetto is externally fed by the same oppressors that put you there, you will never get strong enough to leave the ghetto. So I feel like what we need is to be more self-sufficient. Because, yes, we can advocate, hey, we need resources, we need this, but if the same people who are giving us the resources put us in that situation, then they'll never get us something to get ahead.
Yeah.
Why does crime exist? I also, I'm a teacher, but I work with middle and high schoolers. And I see that at a young age, a lot of them, they do not have resources. So if you don't got resources, and prom is coming up, what are you going to do? Yeah. You're going to rob somebody. Yeah. You know, if you don't got food on the table and you hungry, or you don't got the latest shoes and somebody picking on you, you're gonna rob somebody, you know, and you're gonna rob the person closest to you. So I feel like what we need is like to, instead of just saying community, like how do we get back to actually being a community and making sure like all of our needs are met.
And when we do that, when we become community again and we achieve self-sufficiency like our Wall Streets, we don't get burned down. We don't get smashed into the ground. Yes.
So I totally agree with what she said 100%. I'm actually an engineer. I was actually an engineer, just retired. So I did well, right? And I was able to do things because I was able to do things because I had that financial background, but I got educated, right? I got educated through a white system, right? I was a lead engineer on the East Coast, which means that everybody that I worked with didn't look like me. Matter of fact, nobody I worked with looked like me. Okay, so I was when I was done and retired, you know, we made it a point, right? My wife and I made it a point when we purchased our building, made it a point to hire people that look like us to renovate it, right? So that was very important. Just like you said, give it back to the community. We're trying to build a community, and now when we have anything that's going on within that community, we go to them first. We go to the people that look like us. We're trying to rebuild our communities, and that's very important.
Thank you.
I guess we're done.
Well, I mean, no, because we're answering the question. So anybody is open. So
Yeah.
what is the thing that we can do? What do we need to be doing? And we can take a happy pause.
You just answered that, actually. Each of us just answered it in our own way as to what we should do. You know, my thing is educating these young people to take this sort of stuff and pass it around, because in the same way that people can get out there and pass around ignorance and foolishness, they can use that same technology to pass sense and intelligence and all that. And so
I think this is important. Conversation. You don't hear without talking, and talking amongst others, blacks and whites talking together. That is important. And it's trying to happen. I believe it's something that is wanted, but I believe that the energies don't want it. But the conversation, I believe people want this conversation. I mean, before I knew who you were and what you were doing, I was saying, you got to do this. You got to talk about it. Wow.
And we talk about it.
Yes, we do.
Wow.
Yes,
but
we
this,
do.
I believe, is what people are looking for. How do you find it? You know, how do you make it happen? We have the energy. You want to talk. You want to ask a question, but I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want you to hurt my feelings. We're so sensitive, but we want the conversation. People come from all over the world to this city to hear about slavery. Good. Let's talk about it. Let's tell the truth about it.
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about it. That's the other thing.
And that does exist here. There is initiatives that have gone on. There have been, we searched after Mother Emanuel. There was a group that came together, and we searched across the world to see who could help us to be able to learn to do exactly what we're doing here. And that was Dr. Gail Christopher.
I remember.
She came and trained us. And now we have 18 people in Charleston that are trained in this process. The problem is we can't get the support to continue to get this message out. So it's up to all of us to be able to support the things that already have been worked on. That was hard work. That was hard work. And the first thing that we did, we addressed that before we can get to racial healing and learning to break down those barriers and work together, we had to address the false narrative that there's a human hierarchy and that somehow whites are superior to blacks. That had to be broken down. That is a false narrative that has been living forever, and we had to break that down. So the truth had to come out. We had to come out with the truth, and one of the first things that we did was recognize the role that the city played in slavery, the role that the city government played in taxing slavery. They profited every time a human was bought or sold. The rental system was an revenue. The sugar house was a torture chamber for slaves. That was operated by our city. So we had to start with the first thing, which is our city had to apologize for the role that they played in slavery before we could move on from that. Wow. Yeah. So we did.
And the fact that that was even controversial to begin with says a lot.
Right. And then if we're talking about apologies, let's talk about like what an apology that matters means, right? So we're talking about amends. So it's the apology is the acknowledgement that this horrible thing has happened, but the extension of the apology is what do the amends look like after the harm has happened? How do you look to not other people outside of South Carolina, but the folks in South Carolina? Because nobody can teach you better than the people who have had the experience. And that is to look to the people who are in South Carolina or in any of our communities across this nation, across this globe, as to what their experience is and what amends looks like. And that's the conversation that we're having today. This is the amends. We know the apology, we know the story, we've heard the narratives, we know the pain. We're still existing in that pain. We're still existing in the desire to recreate colonial America. Under the guise of democracy, which is being eroded as we speak. And so it's really important for us to be thinking about how it is that we take care of each other with amends after the apology and after the harm.
Yes, because I was still living here when the apology happened, and I sat in that city council chamber for the 5.5 hours it took to vote. And it, you know, surrounded by floor-to-ceiling portraits of former enslavers. And I'm curious, because I haven't been here for 5 years, I would be curious to hear what that amends, what happened after the apology. Like, Jay asked me a question that I didn't know the answer to. Where is the apology, like, where can you find it? Is, on the website of Social Justice Racial Equity Club, okay, but is the city, has the city, posted it anywhere? Is that, you know, it's not enough just to say, in my opinion, it's not enough to just say, I'm sorry. You know, anybody can say they're sorry, but whether or not, and I think that's what you mean by the amends.
How do you show sorry?
What does it look like? So in the 5 years that I've been gone, has the city changed anything to show that it cares about the fact that it continues to, because I would argue it continues to profit on slavery. It continues to profit through the CVB, through the Tourist Bureau, through all of the things that it creates to draw all of those tourists here from all over the world, because they're still pushing the antebellum story. They're still pushing the hoop skirts and the mint juleps and the beautiful rainbow row, but they're not telling you, right, the celebration, but they're not, separation, sorry, thank you. But they're not telling you that the cobblestones that you're walking on are the ballast stones from the slave ships. You know, they're talking about how charming the cobblestone streets are. You were telling that story. Yes, you tell that story. Thank you for the correction. There are people that tell that story. The city is not necessarily telling that story, is the point I'm trying to make. So the apology happens, but then do we change anything? Yes, I know you're telling that story, Professor Fordham.
So there were several things that happened after that apology that the city did put into place. But one of them was the Racial Conciliation Commission. And they had developed, I can't remember how many recommendations for implementation of things that would correct these things. And it was shot down. It was pushed back on. It was too much. And that commission was actually disbanded, reconfigured, new name. Now they're pretty much no power.
No power.
Yeah. So there was things that happened after that, but now we're back to square one.
Yeah.
That always happens.
Go ahead. Come on, Godfrey.
We got the apology, but then what? We got the apology. That was great, and that was a show. They put on a fucking show.
Yeah.
For an apology that they had to vote on, barely got it. But then what comes after? What's the action?
Yeah.
I apologize, but then she just explained it was shut down. You hear no more about it. and we live in this pain. We have an ache on our spine that we've learned to smile. We live with this pain. How well do you live with your pain?
Thank you.
What's next after the apology? I would say reparations, and that's probably why it got shut down, because every time like we talk about reparations, then it either gets shut down or people just become racist, just to be honest. Because if you even look at it, was a recent news clip, because there was a group of folks at, I think it was Middleton Plantation, actually making a call for reparations, having the plantation sue still profit, Middleton, Boone Hall, to transfer land, back to the people who ancestors worked the property. And it was just a conversation. But if you like take time to look at the comment section, you will see all the racism of Charleston come out. You might even see people who work at the school, people who work in the hospitals, people who still benefit from slavery to this day. Even though the argument people like to say, oh, well, you didn't live as a slave. Okay, but we are still experiencing the after effects of that. Like, that's why when you look in North Charleston, we don't even have access to grocery stores. Like, that's by design. But if you go to Mount Pleasant, I bet you'll see a Whole Foods, you'll see a Harris Teeter, you'll see so many resources. But why we don't have the same thing in North Charleston? You can look at the map of Charleston and see where the predominantly black people are at, predominantly white people. And you can even see they got yoga studios, they got things to be healthy, but we don't have that same thing. And then when we talk about reparations, so we can build our own stuff, not asking somebody to give it back to us, but really to pay. Because it's like my ancestors already paid, like, in blood. So you're really just repairing the harm that you did.
We can do one collective breath, because Deanne was offering that. Yeah, I appreciate that.
I want to ask you, are you glad you came?
Thank you. I am glad I came. This is transformative for me, having more experiencing in the South, because the South, as I've said time and time again, is the model for how we exist in the world. And there is, it's an interesting thing. It was an interesting thing to sit in white comfort in the way that I sat in when we went downtown. And then I had to think, I always think about that. I think about privilege, I think about comfort, and I also think about if I was holding power, what would I want in the same way? I moved myself to Jamaica, and so in Jamaica I get to sit in privilege because of the way I present, because of my heritage and all of that kind of stuff, and that's comfortable to me. And I like seeing the people that look like me, and I like eating the food that I like to eat, and I like hearing the music. I like the vibration, and so I understand it. But the thing that is different about what I'm experiencing on the Caribbean island, the motto on the island is that out of many, one people. So when other people come into the space, they're not treated as shadow beings. They're not treated as as something that's not acceptable. They're treated as welcome, enjoy our country, enjoy our culture, enjoy our food, dance with us, sing with us, be in the street with us. Even if the narrative is telling it's too dangerous to go walk around the place, it's still a different thing. I learned here that there is pineapple represents welcoming people for the come-yes, right? And, right, by the binyas. And I love the language. The language is so energizing here. It's fun. It's fun. Yeah, it's patois. It's all, and it's all related coming from the motherland. So being able to see all of those things, but how is it that we can celebrate those things? If we're celebrating 250 years of the United States, if we could do it more like they do outside in Caribbean on more drum beat vibrations that haven't, because the drum beat vibration was on this land. It's just been so quieted. That if we could celebrate where it's out of many one people ideology and really recognize each other as autonomous human beings and give each other dignity and consideration, then that's when we'll get to the celebration. And so I'm glad to have come to South Carolina to be able to have that affirmation reinforced within me that that is what I'm seeking and hoping that people can see and experience as they begin to have conversations to expand their understanding and perspective throughout the United States in particular. Because when the South transforms, when the South Carolina, you can be black and white and walk downtown and go into a store, and comfort doesn't just look like white comfort, shadow souls, but it looks like we're all here together comfortably, and we can create that space, having these conversations, to your point, Ms. Elena, and to your point, Professor, that is the jewel of this experience, and the jewel of being able to have this visitation, and the jewel of you inviting me down here. My wonder twin. So thank you.
Well, I am so glad that you made it here, and I want to thank everybody who came to sit in circle with us, even those who didn't know they came to sit in circle with us.
Yes, you did. You knew.
That came to stay and be here. It feeds my soul on so many levels, and I hope it fed all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. I appreciate you all. Yes, and the last thing that I just wanted to do really quickly is I did invite everybody to bring something special into the circle, and I think this is a really good way to close out our circle, because whenever you open a circle, bring people in, it's also very important to close the circle. So I am going to model with two things that I was gifted on this trip here, and I think that this is wonderful. So the first, so the first thing, and I didn't open it, I'm not going to open it because it's easier for me to travel with it nice and packed up, I was supposed to be here to be able to go to the International African American Museum. I missed it, and I'm sorry about that, but I will come back to South Carolina, and I'll bring my children to have this experience. My older than teenager, young adolescent, adults. But this was special and it's symbolic, and it's special and symbolic because I always wrap, and that is my crown. That is my crown, and it also is my protection from the forces of evil. For those who don't know, this is why I wrap all the time, and then also, vanity. My brother pushed me down when I was young. I have a big knot on my head. But I appreciate being given this wrap, because it's just like representative and recognizing and acknowledging my crown. So giving me my crown from royalty is also nice. From royal bloodlines. And then the other thing that I was gifted is one of these beautiful roses from the land. And I was gifted this from my good friend Godfrey now, my new friend Godfrey. And it represents South Carolina. It represents the people. It represents the Gullah Geechee. And it's a rose. And the rose blooms out of thorns, out of the prickly. And it blossoms into something that smells good, that looks good, that feels good, that we can make so much out of it. And this is a representation of South Carolina because it smells good, it looks good, and there's an opportunity to make so much out of it. And I'm hoping that we can do that as we move forward. So, thank you. Do you want to share your thing? Do you want to share your thing? Did you bring anything special?
Oh, well, I didn't. I was, yes, I'm wearing my keffiyeh today.
Tell your stories.
So I have a couple of keffiyeh. This is a Palestinian keffiyeh, and I wear it often. I pretty much have it on every day, either through my earrings. This is my summer version of it's too hot to wear the keffiyeh. Or I just recently got this one. About a week ago, I was invited to a gathering of Palestinian women, and there was a woman there particularly who was teaching us the art of tatriz, which is the embroidery that Palestinian women do. And when you see their clothing or often have tatriz on them, the symbols tell you where they're from. So the symbols will speak to what village they're from, what region they're from. And so it was often a way of telling folks where their home was. And as we know, Palestinians are fighting very hard to try to keep their home. So this particular keffiyeh was hand embroidered by the woman that did the tatriz workshop. And for those who may not know, the watermelon symbol is because I believe it was 1972, the state of Israel outlawed the flying of the Palestinian flag, which, as you can see from my nails, is green, white, black, and red. So because they could no longer fly their flag, they started displaying the watermelon as the substitute because it has the same colors as their flag. So if you see a watermelon relating to Palestine, that is why. And then the olive branches because of their olive trees and the olive oil that is pressed there. So that is my very special thing.
And we love watermelon and olives. Yes, we do. A rich fruit. Excellent.
Did you bring anything special with you?
My earrings.
Yes.
From Dee, my dear friend, gave me these earrings. They come from the International African American Museum, and I just love them, and they match this. And this is Egyptian, right? All right.
So seeing as how I was a last minute add-on, I didn't bring anything, but I'll also echo earrings. I got these in Bluffton at I think it was like a fish fry. So I think it speaks to just community, right? Why I was here today was to meet Akua, because Akua is doing a documentary with planting sunflower seeds. So that's why I was here. And I just kind of came in, was like, where's Akua? And we started talking, and then we have this connection. I'd also say Nakba is on Friday. Nakba is the Arabic word for catastrophe, which is when the state of Israel came to being.
1948.
Yes, as we know it. And so I'd also say because of relationships that I've built here in Charleston, that there's been a lot of activism for Palestinian people, and to see resistance in the Low Country, Black solidarity, and Palestinian solidarity is connected. So
Because it's all connected,
exactly.
right?
So
the oppression of what's
relationship
happening
building
over
is
there.
what I bring to
Yes.
this, and building community.
And you also brought your knowledge, so thank you for that. Appreciate you.
So today I brought a mini version of the Gullah Geechee diaspora flag. This is a little patch, and I brought this because this was birthed during the pandemic. Me and a friend of mine, we was online. We need to educate people about the way we speak, our culture, because there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. People think the way we speak is slang, is broken English, and they just don't really know about Gullah Geechee people. So we started doing that, and people from Jamaica, people from Barbados, they're like, hold up, y'all sound like us. What's going on? And then we just also started with connecting, because not everybody who's now Gullah Geechee live in the Gullah Geechee corridor. Since gentrification happens, people are being displaced. And so we just started connecting with people all over, and they was like, we need a flag that represents all of us, regardless if you're born in the actual Gullah Geechee territory, or just because your parents moved to China, so now you over there, but you still Gullah Geechee and you want to represent. So long story short, we came up with this community flag. Literally, even the guy who patched this, put the design together, he an Igbo man from Nigeria. So literally, the whole diaspora created this. So the black represents the people of the black diaspora. The blue represents a couple different things. If y'all had a chance to tour around Charleston, I'm not sure if you told them about the Haint blue, so you will see the blue doors, window sills, stuff like that, and also blue bottle trees. Because we believe that the color blue protects us from evil spirits. Also represents water, and for some of us in my culture, we call her Mommy Water, or it just means Mother Ocean. And then the green represents land agriculture, which I've also started calling her Mommy Earth, because I feel like she's another ancestral spirit. So that's why the green is there, represent that. And then the gold is to remind us we are children of the sun. I know for me growing up, I heard ignorant elders be like, oh, don't stand to the sun too long because you will get darker. I'm like, why is that a problem? And the crab, which people used to laugh, because we do eat a lot of crab down here. I'm not sure if you experience it. So they're like, y'all got it on here because y'all eat crab? No, because there's also a saying that black people hold each other down like crabs in a barrel. But we discovered a crab in their natural habitat, they do not hold each other down. Even when the crabs are molting, the male crab will come up behind the female crab and he'll go days without food just to cover her and protect her. So in their natural habitat, which is not a barrel, in the natural habitat, they actually protect each other. So that's how we have that. And the spears represent the Gullah War, and the last thing, the rice crop is to represent why we were brought over here, not because we're curses of Ham. They kidnapped us and brought us here because our ancestors had the knowledge and skill of rice cultivation.
Yes.
So, that's it.
Good job. Good job. Good job. I like that. I actually didn't bring nothing but this young lady right here.
That's a whole lot of something.
And that's a whole lot of something. That's the most amazing person that I know. So I brought her with me, but she brought something.
Because we do not want to remove the ring from the bull's nose, but this ring My great-grandfather was from Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and he was brought down to South Carolina, Georgetown County, a little town called Andrews, railroading town, and he was brought in to care for the animals associated. So he was a black veterinarian and brought in to care for the animals for the railroad system. And he also on the side had numerous animals, sold animals to the community. And when my mother would help him and she was growing up, she would always ask him. He actually had a Brahman bull, and that bull had this ring in its nose. So she always told him, you know, I want that ring. I want that ring one day. So when she had come back from Germany, the bull was dead, and my great-grandfather gave her the ring. And for years, she had it in a box, and then she started going to ceramic classes, and she's like, oh, what a wonderful place to put the ring at so it can be on display. And she also started the ceramic classes and did the bull the year I was born. So she gifted this to me, and I have my great-grandfather's memory. But it's just the history, because this ring is over 100 years old. So being given that opportunity as a black man in the community, and he was well known for raising various animals. He had prize animals that people came to see that he sold, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful beginning. But I must say this too. In this area, even though they celebrate so many things that represent negativity, I get great pride. And second Sundays and any other time I want to, strolling down King Street and walking into shops that my ancestors could not go into, but I can walk in, and hell, they better not deny me. They better not deny me, because hell hath no fury than what I would bring on them. And so that's my thing, is I want to celebrate Dr. King and all of our other leaders for giving us the ability to be downtown Charleston after dark, no sundown for us anymore. And so, yeah, I will continue to walk and be a part, because I know my ancestors are grateful. They may have had to sacrifice, but they're grateful for what we can do, and what we're going to continue to do even more.
Damn. So you go now. Ishi, we say. Ishi, she, Ishi, Gichi, Ishi. Take the G off, you got Ishi, Chi. Many aspects to our culture. But for me, I bring the breath, my breath that I get from my father, my chi, Gi-chi, my energy. We all experience breath, life. So when I got the message of bringing something, I looked at my basket. I have a Moses basket, the bulrush, the sweetgrass, some books, so many things. But the most important is the breath of life, chi. So coming to speak, and of course, it takes breath. This is my gift that I'm so proud about, speaking. Thank you two for doing this. Thank y'all. Thank everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you. So I'm a connector, and this is my life. So I just brought that. And Godfrey is in here. You are in here. You are in here. So that's all I had to bring.
Your connection. Do you have anything to share?
Nope.
All right, you brought your knowledge as well.
I already did all that, so I'm done.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Did it again.
Blessings and blessings. Thank you. It's also he's going to slip off. All right. We can close.
All right. Well, I don't know how to close. There's so much. I feel so full. I'm very glad that you came. I'm very glad that we were able to build this together, and I'm very glad that all of you were here with us. And we'll see. Maybe this will be the start of something fresh and new. So, Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Good job.
For over 130 years, Jenkins Youth and Family Village, formerly known as the Jenkins Orphanage, has stood as a beacon of hope and a pillar of support in the Charleston community. Established in 1891 by Reverend Daniel Joseph Jenkins, their organization has evolved from a historic refuge for destitute children into a modern, multifaceted campus dedicated to empowering the next generation. While their name has changed to reflect their holistic approach, their commitment to the legacy of resilience, education, and musical heritage, most notably the world-renowned Jenkins Orphanage Band, remains at their core. We chose the Jenkins Youth and Family Village because we wanted to connect with the roots and the historical foundation of the Charleston community. And when we were talking about where we wanted to be, we knew that the environment that we needed to sit in needed to be directly connected to the roots of this community. So this is why we chose this space. This is why I give a fuck about where we need to be and why we gave a fuck about where we chose to record this particular conversation.
Thank you to all of our guests for being with us and to the Jenkins Youth and Family Village for hosting us.
Why do I give a fuck? Why
Thanks for joining us. Until next time, as you move throughout your day, continue to ask yourself,
Why do I give a
Why Do I Give a Fuck is produced in collaboration with Johanna and Deanne. Music by Norwegian musician Water. See you next time.